What I realized was they were going down a different path, right? They were going down the entrepreneurship path, the path that's less traveled, the less beaten path. And I was on this ginormous highway, this like just, you know, the road that everybody else takes. And so I realized that maybe this isn't the direction that I wanted to go. I didn't even know this other road was here. And so when I started to go down this road, I started having negative thoughts and perspective and limiting beliefs coming into my mind. And so I realized that I needed to think differently. I didn't like consciously know that then, but I was getting new information. I was starting to change the way I thought. I started to change the way that I viewed life around versus the people around me. And at the time I was in a college house with a bunch of roommates. And so what I did was change my environment. And I'm going to give you like a couple of tips that I would give you of what I did and how I did it. But what I did was I got myself out of that environment. I moved in with a friend and I just worked all the time, and I just worked on my mindset and I worked on what I was thinking about, and I changed my attitude and my perspective, and all of a sudden all this good stuff started to come to me. I started to get opportunities that I never had before, mentorship that I never had before. I started to meet the people, the guy that I was watching online, Brad Lee, for over 2 years, now I work with. But it wasn't like that at the beginning. I had to change my mindset, change my beliefs, and I had to start to alter the perspective that I had, and I had to raise my identity, right? I had to change the way I was thinking to be able to get these opportunities, okay? And so a couple of the things that I did to change my perspective in that time, because now my life is super different. I mean, it's only been 2.5, 3 years since then. And to make that attitude an internal change, I think that anybody can do it, but you've got to be really intentional. You can't let these external noises in life pull you back to where you used to be, right? Because I had all these thoughts like, just go back to school, finish your last year of college. It could be so much easier. I was under so much pressure, stress. My mindset, like I was trying to accomplish something so different. It was uncomfortable. I didn't know what I was doing. I was trying to figure it out along the way. There's all this stress going on, and it's just like, go back to that comfort. And I just kept saying to myself, I would get those thoughts, I would recognize them, and I would be like, no, and I would write down what I was trying to accomplish. So I was trying to drown out those thoughts, and I would just write out what my goals were, write out what I wanted my life to look like. I just tried to focus on that, just plug that into my head all day long. And so one thing that I did every single day was I would write out exactly what I wanted my life to look like every single day. Now, a lot of people write out their goals once. What I was doing when I was in school is I would write out, I make $10,000 a month. I'm the top agent at Real Financial. I have the biggest agency at Real Financial. Before I even had my license to get into financial services, I was telling myself that I was going to be the top agent. And guess what? I was eventually, right? Not immediately, but eventually I was. But I was pre-programming myself to believe that I could do it. Super, super important. And it wasn't like I told myself once, I was reminding myself all the time, this is where I'm going. This is where I'm heading. This is what I'm out to accomplish. And that gave me the belief eventually to be like, I can do this. This is what I'm gonna accomplish. So I was writing that out. And really what that means is I was reminding myself, because a lot of the thoughts that we have are just generated by our subconscious. So I was trying to reprogram my subconscious mind. I was trying to reprogram what I was being auto-suggested, right? I was trying to reprogram that in my head. So I was just writing it out every morning when I woke up. I would write it out every night before I went to bed. I'm the top agent at Real Financial. I make $10,000 a month, which is so funny. That was my goal then, like 10 grand a month. And now I'm, blowing that out of the water, but it's just like, at that point, that was a lot of money to me. You know what I mean? So, and that was like where I wanted my identity to be, 10 grand a month, if that's how it's measured.